Namaste, everyone. Good morning to everyone in India. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is kushalmehra. So, there is a lot of happening in Bangladesh while India was busy whipping Pakistan's butt. Something kept on happening in Bangladesh too. And I don't know whether Muhammad Yunus is resigning or he's not resigning. There's so much news floating around, so much conjecture. Raja and I had a conversation about Bangladesh a few days ago, and I thought we'll just do a rejig on this. Don't worry, the audio is far better than last time. So if we have any hiccups, we have any hiccups. But Raja, thanks for doing this. So let's start over here. Since the last time we spoke, do you think things have changed for good or bad in general, or if it's a mixed bag, what is the good and what is the bad?
Namaste, Kushal bhai. Thank you so much. And I hope genuinely the audio is better. It's most of a mixed bag. It's going towards the worst, actually. Now, what has happened since last time we spoke is that there is a lot of pressure on Yunus to declare the dates for the elections. The military has started strongly coming out and saying that nothing is going to happen, boss. You need to do the elections on one end. On the other end, from the geopolitical side of view, both the Americans and the Chinese are now putting Bangladesh into the pull and push of their own influence. But on the domestic front, there is a problem. There is a problem because, one, there is a bit of a crack between the Islamists, the Jamaat-e-Islami and the Hifazatul Islam. The Hifazatul Islam wants to stand with BNP, Khalida Zia-ki, and they are okay to the elections and they want to be partner them with them for the elections. But जहाँ तक जमात-e-Islami की बात आती है, they are not ready to wield the power at all. They don't want the elections to happen. Now, yesterday, Yunus has said that he will get the elections done between 2025 December till about June 2026. But I think that has got more to do with buying time than actually, following that time frame in Bangladesh, because he believes that the new army chief who is in power will be finishing his tenure. I think he's finishing it in April or May next year. So he would be gone, and the new one which will come in will be largely the one who will support them. They will be able to influence that decision, and then they can carry on with the way they want to carry on. Now, this whole drama of Yunus saying that I am going to resign is a hogwash, complete hogwash. He doesn't want to resign, and he will not resign. It's playing a classic victim card of saying that, I'm trying to be a victim, I'm trying to be good to Bangladesh, I want to bring in the reforms, but I'm not being, the system is not letting me work. So it's to get the sympathy on the ground from the people saying that he should not be resigning. Also, it is a way to mobilize the Jamaat cadre and the students, especially the students we saw who were into, protest last year. It's a way to mobilize them to create some sort of disturbance and some sort of, again, the circus notch in Bangladesh and Dhaka. And that will then put them directly against the army. And that is exactly what they would like to see, because then they would like to put pressure on the army chief, saying that, and they have already started saying that. If you see Hasnat Abdullah's statement or even Yunus' statement, he said that the army chief is working under the influence of some foreign powers. Right? First, he pointed towards India, but it was a loose statement. He didn't name India, but he largely pointed towards India and then said other foreign powers as well. So tacitly saying that it's the Americans and the Indians which want him gone. So that is whipping up some emotions in Bangladesh. Where this is going to go is very difficult to predict, but I think that the clash between the Islamists and the Bangladeshi military, it is going to be imminent. They are going to clash on the streets. We have seen army mobilizing in Dhaka a few days ago. They are already on, doing joint patrols and small patrols. And at the same time, the students have started calling for protest. There was one on Saturday. Last Saturday there was a protest, and it's like they're having a mock drill of what is about to come on the ground. Will Army Chief arrest Yunus? I don't think it's not going to be that easy, because the perception on Bangladesh right now, the perception management from both sides is such that though nobody wants to, muddy their literally waters with these kind of allegations that they're being backed by India or by America or foreign powers. But the clash is imminent. Now this can go either way. What we are seeing on the ground is that Yunus is losing support. People are a bit tired. The economy is not picking up. IMF loans are not coming in. That's hitting the garment industry. What I'm hearing from my friends in Bangladesh is that the Chinese are buying a lot of factories there right now. They're investing very heavily in garment factories, and law and order is in shambles. Especially the women are up in arms because of those unabated rapes which are happening in Bangladesh at the moment. So people are also sick and tired. People also want some stability back, and there is no reform actually. Since he has come in on the on the peg of reforms, the truth is that he has not carried out any reform as such, and he has not even given a blueprint of what kind of reforms he would like to do in next 6 months or 1 year, how he would like to implement them, and then maybe go to for the elections. So this whole thing from Yunus seems to be a hogwash to stay in power as long as he wants to stay, and not him to stay in power, but mostly the Islamists would like to keep him into the chair for as long as they can, so they can they can have their own power and they can consolidate. So that is where it is for now in Bangladesh.
So if I was to ask you, now people might think it's a very naive question, but I don't know why I feel it's important. And for people who are confused, yeah, I am in the nighttime in Canada, but Raja is in the morning. That's why I just wished everyone a good morning before people are confused. But Bangladesh and Pakistan are the classical comparison when we always used to say, okay, India, a proper democracy, Pakistan, a proper Islamic republic, Bangladesh, neither here, neither there. That was the historical answer when we used to have our chitter chatter. Now where Bangladesh is. Uh, Now, Pakistan, in the case of Pakistan, one of the requirements of the American loan that the Americans give them is you cannot have a formal military dictatorship in Pakistan. That was one of the most qualifying requirements. Otherwise, Pakistan stops getting money. That's how they maintain the charade of the civilian government in Pakistan. Or that's how the Americans said, we will give you money. This is our condition to give you money. At least do this for us as a face saver so that our experts can do mental gymnastics to explain this. I'm just giving that. But in Pakistan, as of now it is what it is. But in Bangladesh, uh, what is the state of the military dictatorship? Before, people don't know, Bangladesh has had a military dictatorship. Like, people will be like, बांग्लादेश में तो कभी हुआ नहीं उधर भी हो चुका है, उधर भी हो चुका है, but उधर कम हुआ है, and especially Sheikh Hasina के time पे we actually did get a lot of stability. So do you think there is a probability of the military taking over in Bangladesh is my question right now.
Okay, so two parts I'll answer it. First of all, if you look at Bangladesh history, Bangladesh has had far more coups than Pakistan. Bangladesh में 26 coup हुए हैं आज. ठीक है, so their history is very checkered, very dark when it comes to these things. Now, can military take over? Yes, absolutely. There is a chance they can take over, because if the clash happens on the ground, I don't think the army would be waiting for them to just remove Yunus. I think in that case, what the military would ideally like to do is take over, and then in next 6 months or 8 months conduct elections in Bangladesh. They would not like to hold on to power in Bangladesh, because that doesn't solve the purpose of. I don't think this journal is somebody who is interested in holding on to power for as long as he wants to be a dictator. But he would definitely take over, and then he would, for 6 or 8 months, he will go ahead and announce the elections. That is how it is being seen. The problem is, in those 6, 8 months, will he let Awami League to be a part of it, or will he keep the ban which Yunus has imposed on Awami League? My reading is that he will not touch the Awami League as of now. He will not make them participate. Bangladesh democracy is as good as a Pakistani democracy. So everybody, is trying to put their opposition into jail and then do elections, or ban them and then do elections. So there is not much of a difference when it comes to Bangladesh and Pakistan per se in those things. But a military takeover is quite possible, because I don't see any way out. There are two end games to this. One is that the military takes over, and then Yunus is thrown out. Other thing is that the Islamists completely consolidate and remove this general from their own, from the post, and then they get a general who's far more amenable to their demands and keep him in place. These are the two most probable outcomes in this clash, which is going to happen anytime from, let's say, from next 3 days to next 2 weeks. There's a very less chance that they will actually come to terms, and they will sit down and try to resolve it with dialogue. Because the more time, the political parties in Bangladesh realize that the more time you give Yunus in the chair, the less the chances are of elections happening. Because there was already a talk, and this is important, there was already a talk in Bangladesh within these radical Islamists that Bangladesh can go to elections with a -2 formula. So the -2 formula was ban Awami League as well as ban BNP. Ban both of them. Because in the past, BNP also had indulged into, large-scale corruption. And they also had come through the power of coups. So there was a lot of talk about that as well. So there is an apprehension that if these things keep stretching on, BNP may become the next target for these Islamists to, sort of ban them there. But then now the international plays and the international pressure is too much. Clearly, the Americans want the elections to happen. And Yunus is not somebody who is in good terms with the Trump administration. That is why when you saw that Yunus made a complete shift towards the Chinese axis, went to China, literally offered them Bangladesh on a platter, literally on a platter, for them to take it. So I think that is where now the game is going to start. Who is going to come on top is only we're going to see once things get mobilized, or once things get hot in Bangladesh. How it pans out is to be seen.
On the Yunus wanting China to take things over, now here's my way of looking at it. The army is a major player in Bangladesh too, and I'm glad you clarified that Bangladesh has had way more coups than Pakistan, and people forget Bangladesh was created in the 1970s, unlike Pakistan that was created by the British in 1947 by dividing India. Now, in that scenario, would the army want the Chinese to come?
No, I don't think so. Because the incentive for the army to come in for the Chinese is far too less than what they have with the US. The primary among them is, the Bangladeshi army is very Pakistani army. Huh? So, one, they are hugely dependent on the UN missions. So they would not like to jeopardize their careers by getting blocked from going to UN missions in case they go to the Chinese belt. Two, the generals would like to see the dollars coming in more than the yuans coming. They would like to see their children going to a Western university than to a Chinese university. So it's a very similar situation, very uncannily similar to Pakistan. Very uncannily similar to Pakistan. There's not much of a difference. So I don't think the military would be looking at going towards the Chinese way. What the military would do is what the Pakistani military does. It will, overtly please the Americans, but it will covertly also work with the Chinese where the Chinese interests are. Something like we saw in Pakistan. unless and until it's left with a choice where the Americans are really not interested, and the Americans really don't want to do anything with the region. The Americans go tough on them on everything, and then they ask them to unban Awami League and all that, and leave them in a position where it's very difficult for them to explain it to their own people. Then in that case, you will see them going towards the Chinese. But the Bangladeshi journals, just like the Pakistani journals, would not be covertly playing with the Chinese. They would like the Americans far more for themselves than they would like the Chinese there.
So, do you think they will do a direct coup?
What other option do they have? They cannot again go to back to the system wherein they have to remove Yunus, they have to get somebody else as an administrator, they have to change the council. Who are they going to do with? Right, because it's essentially the BNP in the political field at the moment, which is going to go for elections, which is standing out to gain from these elections. Then you have these Islamist parties, primarily among them is Jamaat-e Islami. Then you have the BDSM party. Sorry to say that, but that's the name of it, of the students, right? The Islamist BDSM party. So think about it. I know. As long as people can Google it out, they'll come to know what it is. So that's the new political party which is on the ground, which the Islamists are, thinking of fighting the elections with. So essentially, that's all you have. So yeah, I think but if they make a coup, it's not going to be a long coup. As I said, his first thing would be take over and then look at restoring the process of elections on the ground. And I don't think the Americans would mind him staying in power for 6 months till he gets the elections done. And that is the primary goal, to get some sort of government back in Bangladesh, which to the world will be a fairly or a largely democratic government you're working with. That is how they want to see this.
Fair enough. So, what do you think should India's strategy be? So, from what honestly, as of now, I'm very happy with how the government of India has dealt with them. We are destroying their garment industry bit by bit. We are screwing with them in every way possible. And I like the idea of non-kinetic escalation, which is at a very slow way. It's all non-kinetic. We're not doing anything kinetic with them. We're just going slow, slow, slow. But I want to talk about a very important subject that, I think people should be very honest. Why did it take an Operation Sindoor to round up all the Rohingyas and Bangladeshis? Did we not know they were there? Why?
No, obviously we know they were there. Obviously we know where they are. Now we have come to a point. I think now we are at a stage, because देखो ना कुशल भाई, इसमें कई चीजें हैं. First of all, you have to build a very strong political consensus. Then you need a very strong reason in states where you do not operate or you do not have your government in. Then you have to consider the elections which are going to happen everywhere. You have elections in Assam next year. You have elections in Bengal, right? Then you have sort of, you have to look at how are you going to deal with this problem? Because we have seen we have seen that when the NRC was being talked about, we saw the anarchy which was out on the streets. So how are you going to deal with that 0.5 front within, who is there sitting to jeopardize these efforts by calling in mass protests and creating a ruckus in India? That's the last thing you want to do. You don't want that sort of a situation arising on your streets, because then things will get violent, and it's going to take a hit on our economy. We are actually doing very good. You don't want to slow down your nation's growth by having law and order issues in every other state perpetually. And then there are dangers that there are states which are not in your control. For example, Bengal. How do you deal with that issue? So I think it's more to also to get people rally behind you at a time when emotions are very high, and then start taking action. And also, don't forget that in Gujarat, they went in to round up the Pakistanis. They got the Bangladeshis, 1,400 Bangladeshis. They thought the Pakistanis are living there. They turned out to be Bangladeshis. Right. So I think that is the way to go for it. Now, even if you look at the NRC, they did the limited NRC in Assam. It really didn't go very well down. So you have these issues unless and until you really strong arm and you say, no, no matter what happens, we need to carry out an NRC and we need to clean ourselves of these illegal immigrants, whether they are Bangladeshis or they are Rohingyas. I don't think we even realize the number which is in the country. You're looking at a number of anywhere between 4 crores to 10 crores of illegal Bangladeshis and Rohingyas. Now, that is a huge number. How do you deal with that kind of a thing? Right? How do you extradite them, prove them to the Bangladeshis that they are Bangladeshis or they are Rohingyas? The Rohingyas, the Bangladeshis will not take back saying that, well, send them to Myanmar. Why should we take them back? So you have these, real official diplomatic issues as well. So I think they're going step by step and they're, trying to do it from a very ground level, from a slow level, weed them slowly out and then, just deport them in batches. For example, Abhi, they had given a list of about 2,200 illegal Bangladeshis to the embassy. The embassy was like, we only know about 200 people. Where are 2,200 people come from? We don't recognize them, right? So that is where the problem is. And you really don't want to create a situation where you will be putting 10 million people into a concentration kind of a camp or into a, not a concentration camp, but a jail or a camp where people will say, look, they are running a concentration camp in India, the largest ever. You don't want that narrative to happen around the globe. So you have some real issues when it comes to, deporting the illegals from India. So I think at best, this is the way to go about it. One by one, step by step, slow by slow. A lot of people don't realize the implications, of deporting a very large number of people. You just can't go and push them across the border. धक्का देकर आप नदी में आप, नहीं दे सकते ना कि ये पकड़ो और फेंको बाहर. But 10 को आप दे सकते हो, 15 को आप दे सकते हो, लाख को नहीं दे सकते. So that is what is happening. Pushing around 10 people every day across the border, throwing them back into Bangladesh again. So I think we are dealing with this issue. It's just that now we also are a country which is very reactive. Let me be very honest about it. We knew all along what was happening in Bangladesh. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि बांग्लादेश में coup और हम सब जाग गए, अरे ये क्या हो गया, रात में कैसे radical बन गए. The signs were there for everybody to see for last at least 10 years. The day that ISIS attack happened in Dhaka, that should have opened up the eyes of many people and made them focus of what is happening in Bangladesh. But then we are like, okay, we are sitting quietly. जब कुछ होगा तब देखेंगे. तो फिर जब वो हुआ, वो फटा, तो फिर हम बोलते हैं अच्छा अब हम देखेंगे हमने क्या करना. Now, what is Indian option? The Indian option is you only have one option, which is to find a working relationship with BNP at the moment. No matter how weak or no matter how limited that influence is going to be over the BNP, your best bet is to work around with the government which is tipped to come in Bangladesh somewhere democratically, which you can work with. And aisa nahi hai ki India didn't try to work with Yunus. We did try to work with Yunus, but the problem is that the Yunus is not interested in working in India. India is a boogeyman. So what do? You have to do that. Yes, we have choked them out completely, and that is very good. I think that is the kind of action we need to take on Bangladesh. I would not like to see India giving them a respite on their, garments again once an elected government comes in. I would not like to see that. I would like to see, India taking it away from them and developing its own industries. That's what needs to be done. I think we have given Bangladeshis far too much than what they really deserve from our side. Because the goodness we have given them in terms of economy and the way they have come back and bitten us, I think it's a lesson for us saying that nothing is coming for free, boss.
The irony of it all is India tends to behave like it is a 50 trillion economy with an average income of 100,000 USD, while it is a 4.3 trillion economy with an average income of 2,800 to 3,000 USD. Any sensible country would have a foreign policy where it would put job creation of its own people before just outsourcing probably one of the highest job generating industries in the world. And that's been my grouse with this is not about A government or B government, right? This has been my grouse with the entire India policy when it comes to Bangladesh, as in it's just insane. It's insane. uh, Sometimes I don't understand what India can do. The thing with Bangladesh is they're such a landlocked country as far as their landlocking with India is concerned, right? They have no way out. So whatever they do, they have to deal with India. They just can't survive without India. It's like, they can go to China, the Americans can say we'll do this, the Americans will do that. When rubber meets the road, they know what's going to happen. And that's why Bangladesh needs to also get its head checked. Now that's a very hard task to get Bangladesh's head checked, and I know when I'm saying that. But forget all of that. Okay, now the first half we looked at what might happen, what is happening. The second half, I want to focus on what are the tangible steps that we as a country, India, should take against Bangladesh. What are the hedges? Let's say the Chinese are doing X. What do we need to do to counter X? The Americans might do whatever. I don't know what Trump has in mind. I think Trump gets up in the morning. He's like, आज ट्विटर पे क्या करना है? चल ये बोल देता हूँ मैं. Trump actually, I think Trump has a Twitter policy and he has a foreign policy. And his foreign policy has nothing to do with his Twitter policy. उसको रोज है ना, ट्रम्प एक्चुअली बोलते हैं चल आज इस देश से उंगली करते हैं, चल आज उस देश से उंगली करते हैं. वो एक्चुअली उंगली करता है ट्विटर पे बैठ के लोगों के साथ. एंड लोग लाइक करके, मतलब लोग पागल हो जाते हैं ट्रम्प ने ट्वीट कर दिया था. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक is the future move as far as India is concerned?
That's a good question. But let's look at what is happening in Bangladesh and why Chinese and the Americans are interested in Bangladesh. I think that is very, very important to understand. Now, Trump, you're absolutely right. On Twitter, he's different. On his foreign policy, is different. And what I'm seeing is that his foreign policy is not very different from the Democrats. The American foreign policy is not veering off far from where the Democrats left, especially in this region. Okay. Now, if you go by the reports, see, the game is happening in Myanmar. That's where the real problem is. Now, what the Americans basically want is, which I don't know if you read those reports also, which say that they want to create that Rakhine corridor, which essentially means, running back the Rohingyas right from Chittagong hill tracks, right from Cox's Bazar to the Rakhine in Myanmar, and resettling them back there. Now, that is where the most of the play is happening. Because Rohingyas are inherently radicalized, they are inherently violent, they are getting trained by the ISI into, they already have an organization called ARSA, which is a militant organization which fights for the Muslims. But they are getting, the latest weapons, the latest techniques. So what basically US wants is to create another battleground in the backyard of China and India. Now, if you look at Myanmar, nobody in Myanmar is willing to take the Rohingyas back. Because they're absolutely, I would say, shit scared of the Rohingyas coming back, because they believe if we give Rohingyas some area back in Myanmar, they are going to create havoc. And I'll tell you, I'll quote somebody from Myanmar, which who I met very recently, and he said that we have two children and one wife. They come with five wives and 30 children. How the hell do we match that? We don't know how that will happen. So that tells you the mindset of of the Myanmaris, of what they are thinking about the Rohingyas. Now, the critical earth mining which is happening in Myanmar is very, very big. On an average, about 800 trucks per day go to China of this. An average truck costs about $30,000 to $35,000 US, right? And then this is where it gets processed and then it's shipped to the US. So all this talk of Saint Martin, the Americans might have wanted a base in Saint Martin, but they wanted to create this corridor to get their heft into Myanmar, so that they could create these Islamists. And because see, if you see the China's biggest underbelly, that is its Xinjiang region, right? But for now, Americans have completely failed to either pressurize Pakistan completely or the Taliban completely to exploit that underbelly. Now, creating another small Pakistan, a more murkier, a more dirtier, a more cheaper copy of Pakistan in Bangladesh actually suits the Americans. It keeps a check on China, it keeps a check on us as well. So Myanmar is something where the contention is going to start, and we saw what happened in Manipur in last 3 years. Now things are kind of coming back to normal. But I can tell you for a fact that things are not rosy. And I'm not only talking about Manipur, I'm talking about states like Nagaland, I'm talking to you about states like Mizoram. From very little, know-how of what's happening there. Very little, but I can tell you that things are not entirely calm. So this is where we have to be very, very careful. And we don't have any easy solutions or any easy fix to it. Abab, dekho na, you are right. Bangladesh is landlocked. The most ideal thing for Bangladesh would be to work with India. But then look at the bloody Pakistanis. They have a border with us, they have a border with Iran, they have a border with Afghanistan, and all those three borders are into some kind of other kind of warring. So they have also landlocked themselves. So these, they don't think like that. Their thinking is something else. Kushal, for us, economy is very important, growth is very important. For them, religion is very important. That's where it starts, that's where it ends. They don't have a vision of building a nation. They have a vision of building a utopia. So once you're looking at a utopian concept, your rational thinking goes out for a toss and you actually end up destroying everything you have around you. So that is what is happening in Bangladesh. We don't have easy fixes there. We have to be very, very careful on our east. And see, with the thing I always say is that from the western borders, our infiltration is quite checked. We have, we have borders, we have fencing, we have everything in place, we have infiltration grids in place, and still these buggers manage to cross over and send, people like 5, 6, 7. The problem with Bangladesh is that we already have had a large infiltration into India. We have already been infiltrated into India. So we have to be very, very careful how we go about that. And then this border is far more bigger, far more porous as well. So the problems on this side are far more complex than the problems on the Pakistan front. Because here you are involved with the Bangladeshis, here you are involved with the Rohingyas, here you are involved with the Myanmaris. And in Myanmar also there is not one group operating, there are so many groups operating. So, and then they all have their own interests. They all work across spectrum with everybody and anybody. Whoever pays them the right price. They're not really loyal to anyone. Because they are not dependent on Indian border or Bangladesh border. They are looking at borders with Thailand, Cambodia, and all those areas, right? So their source of entry and exit into drug trade or into weapons trade is coming from that region. That's a different geopolitical front, which is way out of us for us to control that. So I think it's a very precarious situation. It is not an easy fix. It's a difficult position to be in, to be very honest. If I say this with a lot of caution, and I would like to remain caution than optimism onto this, that we have to be very, very careful. Our best bet is to get an elected government in Bangladesh and work with them as much as we can and take care of our interest within Bangladesh, because this whole Rohingya thing is going to explode, and it will be a 70-30 ratio. The 70 will run towards the Myanmar border, the 30 will run towards the Indian border. And then you will have these Myanmari groups who will be creating trouble for you in Northeast. Because once the fighting or something happens there, or instability happens there, we have seen a pattern to and fro ka humne pattern dekha hai. And then obviously we have politicians like that Mizoram CM who made an absolute abhorrent statement that day. So that tells you that politically also people want to milk that kind of a situation. So it's going to be difficult in terms of national security. It's not going to be an easy fix. With Pakistan, it is very easy. You go bang bang bomb them and you come back, or we just isolate them. We don't look at them. We don't trade with them. But with Bangladesh, we have to be careful, largely because what I believe is the infiltration which has already happened. Now, that doesn't mean every Bangladeshi or every Rohingya is a terrorist. No. But definitely every Bangladeshi and every Rohingya is a suspect. And that makes the job really, really hard.
Yeah, it's a very interesting scenario as India keeps growing at 6 to 7% right now. Where do we, uh, where do we go from here? Because we're going to be the only bright spot as far as economic growth is concerned in the subcontinent. So here are two things. With a growing economy, you obviously have more money to invest in national security infrastructure, defense procurement, and stuff like that, border fencing, many things. Now the problem is the home minister has said this, I think, if I remember correctly, and please fact check me, guys, in the comment section if I'm wrong. But from what I remember, the home minister, the honorable home minister of India, had said that the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal has not completed the work of the border fence pending. That's what I remember was the statement made in the floor of the House.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
something we should be working very fast on. Like, these are priority based things. I definitely feel that, and now people will be like, "That's my BJP bias." No, I believe BJP is just more hawkish on these issues. Border security, immigration. So a BJP government in Bengal at a state level would definitely be better, and they would be in a position to better deal with it. But let's get very clear. All Bangladeshis are not going to be going back to Bangladesh. Let's
Yeah.
be very clear about it. It's just not going to happen. It ain't happening. It'll never happen. Indians have to deal with it. My solutions to that problem, which is a reality, was that India has to not get an NRC. Again, the NRC would get struck down at the court level because it is a problem in the constitutional framework. For those who don't understand, go watch my podcast with Nikhil Mehra where we explained this. Okay. This was explained. I think it was Nikhil Mehra, me, and Jesai Deepak. I don't remember which exact one, but just search CA, NRC, Kushal Mehra, Cārvāka podcast. Nikhil Mehra was there for sure. So I think JSD was there too. And this is the problem with this entire setup. What we can do is we need to relook the entire electoral roles of India. The key to any democracy is who gets to vote, who doesn't get to vote. People who get to vote have a say in shaping policy. Policies are the most powerful tool in democracies, in my view. Policies are controlled by people who vote. You can and politicians only respond to potential voters, nothing else. Um, and as far as we are concerned, I think that should be our priority. Because the more we grow economically, and listen, if we are landlocking, these countries are landlocked to us, and we are using non-kinetic auctions to screw with them, right? In Pakistan, it's a kinetic, non-kinetic both action. But with Bangladesh, it's purely non-kinetic. But the point is, if we are doing
Absolutely.
these things to them, they're going to get screwed even more. We are going to grow economically. That's a given. They're going to be enticed to come over here on this side even more. We need to invest more in border security, reduce the porousness. This is not going to be easy by any way, no matter which government is there. Let's assume a new government comes in the center. The BJP is not there. It doesn't change the reality. Like, these things have to be looked at a very, cold-hearted way. So I don't know what the road ahead is. Like, Bangladesh is a tricky situation, because if we grow economically, we give even more reasons for them to come here. That's why India बोलता था कि इनको economically grow होने दो, इनके वहां पे रहने दो.
No, that's true. That was the thinking behind it, actually. Yeah.
So
Can
what
you
do
hear
we
me?
do? Yeah.
It's a catch 22, Kushal bhai. You are absolutely right. Dekho, and you are right on the statement where the Honorable Home Minister that made that speech saying that it's the West Bengal government which is not taking us to it, and that is where my biggest grouse comes from. I don't think, and he said that next year Sarkar of BJP will come and we will change things. I think national security cannot be subservient to local politics and who's going to come and who's not going to come into power. I think what center needs is to create a national security policy. And when it comes to management of borders, I think it should be the center which should be taking the lead. The state should not have any role into that. Second thing is, I completely agree with you that we have to at least minimum do a revision of roles in all these states bordering Bangladesh. That is a given, that is a must. Because the problem is, see, these illegals come in and they don't stay in, states like Tripura, states like Assam, states like West Bengal. They just come in, they get their documentation then, and then they move on. And today you have a problem as far as Kerala. Name the state, name the union territory, you'll find the Rohingyas, you'll find the Bangladeshis. As far as Goa, and then they come with their own models of their own things, create madrasas and all that, and try to do their covert agenda of what they have to do with it. So it's a very, very tricky situation. The best way would be to first do a roll call once again, the electoral roll call in all the border states of along Bangladesh and Myanmar both, I would say, not only Bangladesh. Second would be to create a national security policy which the center will have a firm control when it comes to border decisions, land acquisitions, fencing, and management. It cannot be subservient to the elections to the local politicians. Third thing would be that you keep Bangladesh on a very tight leash. This is where you need to learn from the Chinese and not the Americans. Look at the way the Chinese play the Pakistanis. It's literally like crumbs on reward if you behave. So you have to create that kind of working relationship with China, with the Bangladeshis, where you reward them when there is good behavior. Fourth thing I would say is that you need to identify, you need to come out with some sort of policy where we all know that all these Bangladeshis are not going to go back. It will not happen. So it's better to give them a migrant, not a migrant, but a work visa like we have for the foreigners in other countries, in West countries. Identify them, give them a work visa, keep a very strong tab onto them, let them be a part of the economy, let them earn, but that's it, nothing more, nothing less than that. So you actually keep, they marry somebody, you know they are married, you know where they are, where are they working, and if they are not working, if they go off their radar and they are not working, please actively pursue to lock them up and try to deport them. So you don't let them roam around, do whatever they want to do. Even if they are a daily laborer somewhere, they still need to have that card and that mechanism somewhere where they log in, or they, you know that this is where they are working today, or this is what they are doing today. Something. I'm just talking on a very broad form, on a very broad board. I'm just soundboarding on a very broad thing. That is also important. So we need to look at at our own national security perspectives far more seriously than how we have been dealing with this problem, since decades now. We need to get serious about this, boss. I think we still have not prioritized national security. We have not prioritized our border security, and that's the first thing we do. Second thing is, which is very important, they say that there is a lot of local economy between Bangladeshis and us, between the Myanmaris and us. So what you can do in that case is where, because at the end of the day, yes, you have to take care of livelihood of people living in the border areas as well. And I agree with that. You want to cross over, you want to come back, it's wonderful. But create checks, very stringent checks, create gates where you issue passes. You know who went across, you know who came this side. So even if they are doing their daily trade, it needs to be monitored. Anybody coming out of those gates or out of those crossings or out of those whatever setups you want to create, they should be getting arrested. Then we have issues of smuggling on the border. And we need to curb on that as well. And that is where the real challenge is. Because we know our shortcomings into that as well. I don't want to elaborate on that, but we know where we are weak as well in that system. So I think that system needs to change. That smuggling rings things cannot happen at a scale that they happen now. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. You have to be very careful with that. That's how I see it. That stick is absolutely right. You said you laid it down very well. So that is the only way to deal with these people.
Yeah, I think do non-kinetic action, and I think the BJP has to win Bengal for things to improve better. And beyond that, electoral roll fixing is the only way out of this. Electoral roll fixing, and eventually there has to be some very serious. Obviously, I'm sure the government of India must have sent a very serious message to the Bangladeshis. But the point is, if we're not going to fix the fence, I mean, border fencing नहीं करेंगे तो फिर and see that area now where Bangladesh is, like even that Sundarbans and all that area, it's so porous, yaar. Matlab, how does a government control it? That's the problem.
You control it like you have crossings with in many places in Jammu and Kashmir, where it's technical fencing. It's not physical fencing. So you have cameras, you have drones, you have sensors, which essentially then give you a moment. But with the problem with the jungle is that you have an animal which is moving, it will take up a sensor, you'll send an alarm. You've heard of elephants moving, you think it is that. So you have challenges, real challenges, right? So you will have to create, or you have to create the same thing what we have in JNK, which we call is the catchment areas. So once you come out of these densely forested, hard terrain kind of thing, and you come towards the mainland, we create a catchment area, we catch you there, and that is it. There's a lot of talk in India, and I want to clear this, that we should go kinetic and we should take the chicken neck away from. Now, I know how easy it sounds, and it is far easy for the Indian military to do it, but it has a huge repercussion to it as well. You don't want to get into a situation where a low insurgency from Bangladesh, from Myanmar is going to trouble you rapidly inside your borders and wherever you have held your, because taking area is very easy. Once you have to control it, that's where the real game begins. So you don't want to get bogged down into that, and both Americans and the Chinese will lick their fingers saying that we got another chance to trap India in its own game. So, that chicken neck idea which everybody starts giving ki chicken neck le lo, inko maza se kha lo, please understand that it's not going to be that easy. You will take it in one day. I can guarantee you that for sure. It will not even take us a day to take that thing. Half a day maybe. But then with it will come a lot of trouble for the next 10 years. So that will be another conflict you will be involved in. So that is the cost we'll have to pay for that kind of a misadvantage or a kinetic action we have to do, unless the Bangladeshis give us the reason like the Pakistanis have started giving us. With Pakistan, it is very clear. Nobody lifts a finger because that's where the terror is coming from. Unless Bangladesh gives us a similar solid reason, I don't think kinetic action is something that India should be looking at preemptively at all.
Once we become the third largest economy, to celebrate that, we should.
Yeah, but
Two,
also
3 years.
remember that we are fourth largest economy, but we still feed 80 crore people absolutely free of cost as well. So we have to take a lot of things into consideration before we go ahead and do that. And that is the reason we are not able to spend the money on research, R&D. Our defense is lagging behind at many places. A lot of projects are lagging behind because we still have a lot of people to take care of, right?
All right. I think before we wrap up, anything else you think we should have covered that we did not?
No, I think we covered primarily broadly the things which are happening in the region. We have covered them well. Unless you have anything else to ask me, I think
Somebody gave this fantastic suggestion. Why not send the illegal immigrants to Chinese ghost cities? China get laborers, illegal immigrants get good housing and jobs. Ah, bhai, itna aasan hai na.
The Chinese are not like us. No, the Chinese don't take people in like that. And if the Chinese get them in, they will really get them on a leash from day one. It's literally a master and slave situation. The Chinese are very, very different. And then why do Chinese need that labor? Because the Chinese labor within China is cheaper. That is what China is known for. Cheap labor. That is how China built itself upon cheap labor. So why would be importing more cheap labor? So
Yeah.
but the suggestion is nice, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, and also we would like to congratulate Pakistan on a wonderful victory. Operation Banyanul Chaddi was very successful. Yes, and उन्होंने भारत को हरा दिया है.
आप इसको हरा दिया है पूरा, हमने फतह कर लिया है.
हाँ, फतह कर लिया
कहीं रह
है
गई है
हमने. उनकी 70
हमारी पतलून रह गई.
70% उनकी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के ग्रिड
बिजली
हमने
काट
ला
दी.
दिए. बिजली काट दी हमने.
हम यहाँ मोमबत्तियां जलाकर पॉडकास्ट करते हैं, हमारे पास बिजली नहीं है.
हाँ, हमने रा को स्मैकडाउन कर दिया है. हमने सब कुछ कर दिया है. और कमार चीमा इंडिया में आ गया है.
वो सारे घर वापसी कर रहे हैं. श्वेब चौधरी भी. I've got a screenshot of Shweb Chaudhry's channel now. He is also in India. So ये तो लोगों का हाल है. बट देखो ना, यही है जब आपकी शलवार उतर जाती है, पतलून 71 में उतरी थी, अब शलवारें उतर गई. आप सिर्फ टाई पहनकर बैठ जाते हो, आपको ये भूल जाता है नीचे आप नंगे हो. तो पाकिस्तान की प्रॉब्लम यही है, इनकी हमेशा टाई रह जाती है, इनकी पतलून और शलवारें उतर जाती है.
ऐसे भिखारी, इतने बेशरम कमजर्द भिखारी लोग मैंने मेरे जीवन में नहीं देखे जितने पाकिस्तानी हैं. इतने बेशरम और मतलब वो बोलते हैं ना, फटे तो फटे पर नवा भी ना घटे. पाकिस्तान के ऊपर वो एक्चुअली ये अप्लाई होता है.
नहीं, ये इमरान खान ने बिल्कुल सही बोला था. पाकिस्तानी अपनी डॉलर के लिए अपनी माँ बहनों को भी बेचते हैं, ये वैसे है. He was absolutely right on this.
मतलब मैंने कमाल की डेस्परेशन. अभी मोदी जी की स्पीच थी कि अपना कि रोटी खाओ ना वरना मेरी गोली तो है. इट वाज मेंट क्लियरली फॉर द पाकिस्तानी एस्टैब्लिशमेंट एंड द टेररिस्ट. इट वाज क्लियर. द स्पीच वाज इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट. बिग पाकिस्तानी लिबरल सेंसिबल यूट्यूबर्स आर लाइक, मोदी ने तो हमको मारने की बात कर दी है, नरेंद्र मोदी ने. And I'm talking about
nothing called liberal. There is no liberal in Pakistan. It's a facade. वो nonsense है. There's nothing called liberal in Pakistan. Even Pakistani left is a bloody radicalized right in Pakistan.
Communist.
नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ कम्युनिस्ट भी जो है ना, वो भी radicalized
Islamist communist है. ये क्या यूनिक डिजीज है, Islamist communist.
हाँ, Islamist communist है, literally Islamist communist है. There is nothing called liberal in Pakistan. I mean, let's see anything which is liberal in Pakistan. One person which I can say is liberal. Nothing at all. It's a gone case. I think all the countries need to do DNA sampling of them and do a study on how demented human beings within us can be like that. ये कौन सा DNA है? ये DNA आपको कहीं और नहीं मिलेगा. ये पता नहीं क्या बला है.
Cannot believe 1947 के पहले ये हम थे.
मैं कहता हूँ बच गए हम लोग, कैसे बच गए.
Yeah, I think that is a perfect way to end. Perfect way to end the podcast. Hashtag thank you, Jinnah. साले ने बचा लिया. ओ पिंड छूटा, जाओ तुम उधर, मरो तुम उधर. पिंड छूटा नहीं चाहिए तुम्हारा कुछ. हमको सिर्फ हमारा पीओके दे दो, तुम अपना बढ़ो अंदर, तुम रहो उधर सालो.
We are very happy without you.
हाँ, और बांग्लादेश भी वहां रहे, ये लोग भी वहां रहे, बस हमारे को छोड़ दो. हमको तुम्हारे साथ नहीं रहना है. हमको तुम्हारे साथ, मतलब पाकिस्तान का कैसा हाल है, सोसाइटी में एक आदमी होता है ना जिससे कोई बात नहीं करना चाहता और वो सबको जाके ये करते रहता है. वो पाकिस्तान वो है. कोई उससे बात नहीं करना चाहता. चलो,
उनका बहुत बुरा हाल. And
we will wrap up
talk
once
about it
again.
next time.
Yes, chalo, take care of yourselves, Raja. Take all the best.
Thank you, Kushal bhai. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Sleep well.
Yeah, you too. Take care. So, guys, we'll wrap up today and go follow Raja Muneeb on X. His X handle is there in the description of the podcast. Also, his new YouTube channel. You can follow and subscribe over there too. And you know the drill as far as I'm concerned. This podcast runs only on memberships. So please do consider joining the membership program of the Cārvāka podcast, whether on YouTube or on Patreon. It does not matter. If you can send one-time donations, do consider sending them on kushalmehra at icici if you are in India. If you are in Canada, you can use Interac Canada and send it to kushalmehra81 at youtube.com. Other than that, if you want to buy the merchandise, you want to buy my book, all the links are there in the description of the podcast. If you can't do anything, just like this video, subscribe to the Cārvāka podcast YouTube channel, leave a comment in the comment section. If you are an audio listener, do consider leaving a rating on your preferred audio platform. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.